All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Ask Me Anything here live at the Unemployable Studios. How are you, everybody?
Good, good. Good night.
You excited?
Yeah. Already a heap of questions rolling in.
Lots of questions rolling in, which is great. So, guys, if you can hear me loud and clear, can you guys give us a quick hello? A quick yes in the chat? All right. Again, we've got a lot of people live right now, which tells me one thing, right? There's a lot of people in Australia who want to stop guessing and start building wealth through property projects. This is why we all are here today. Firstly, I want to thank you guys all for being here. We know your time is valuable, and the fact that you've jumped on live says something serious about learning how this actually works in the real world. This is what I'm doing on a daily basis. Carson, Shannon, and Kevin, who's on the panel with us today. I just want to make one thing clear, right? So today is not a presentation. This isn't going to be a get-rich-quick scheme, right? This is a live, unfiltered, ask us anything conversation. We're going to be talking about land subdivisions, small-scale developments, how deals are actually funded, how people are finding the right sites right now, and how everyday Australians are, more and more of them are moving from the investor to the actual developer. Just real answers from people that are doing deals, not just talking about them. So like you look at Carson, you look at Shannon, you look at Kevin, you look at myself, we're literally doing deals. This is what we do. And this is why we enjoy talking about this, right? It's not just someone that's talking about it and talk. We're actually walking the walk, and we want to help you guys. Now, a couple fun things I just want to get out of the way. We're giving away some unemployable hats throughout the program tonight, throughout the live stream. So keep asking great questions, engage in the chat. Make sure you guys are engaging in the chat, asking a lot of questions, right? Because I literally have my laptop up right now looking at all the questions coming in, and those are the questions that we're going to be answering. Now, we're also going to be drawing 2 tickets to our live event that's coming up March 7th and 8th here in Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast at the Luxury Mondrian Hotel. It's called Find, Fund, and Develop, and we have special guest speaker Michael Matusik, who's one of the leading property analysts in the country. Now, you're going to see on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a QR code, and you're going to see a link there. Now, most of you guys aren't going to be able to click on that link, so you got to go into your web browser and go to www.unemployableproperty.com.au/spin the wheel. Now, I want to be very, very clear. This is only going to be up for about 10 minutes. Once it's pulled down, you're not going to be able to register again. So what I need you to do right now in the next 5 minutes, if you're on your TV, scan the QR code, put in your details. If you're on your mobile phone, open up a web browser and click the link. Copy the link and make sure that you put your details in there. I will call at the end when the registration is going to be off, and we are going to do the draw at the end of today's session. When you look at the event that we're creating in the future on March 7th and 8th, right? Like this event is where we go deep into actually finding sites, structuring the finance, and how to actually develop, right? From start to finish. That's what we're doing. But tonight, what I want you to make sure of, you guys keep submitting questions throughout this live session. No question is a stupid question, right? I know we have a lot of people watching this right now, and I want to make sure that each and every one of you puts a question in there. Doesn't mean we're going to answer every single one, but we'll try and get through as many as possible. We probably won't get to every single one, but the goal tonight is to leave you with more clarity, more confidence, and at least one action that you could take immediately. The key, guys, is taking action. All of you guys registered. You guys could be anywhere right now, and you're here right now. Now, what I want to do is I want to introduce the panel. Some of you guys might know us. Some of you guys might not know us. So we got Shannon Sharpe to my left. So Shannon and Carson are business partners at Salt Developments. These guys 5 years ago weren't doing too much. Shannon had a job in a civil construction company. Carson literally was cleaning carpets. 5 years later, if I told you what they were doing in land developments, you'd think I'm lying, but trust me, I look at myself and I start thinking, am I actually doing the right thing with what kind of deals these guys are doing? Shannon is one of the founders, obviously, of Unemployable Property. Shannon gets deep into the construction piece, right? So he's the problem solver that uses his unique construction ability from start to finish, which basically ends with money in the bank. So he's the real hands-on guy on site. That's his main skill, as well as many others. But if you've ever wondered, like, can you realistically build this? Can you realistically build this or not? Like, Shannon's your guy. I've already brought him to one of our sites and said, hey, what do you think here about the fill, taking this out? And he could basically price it right there and then, just because he's been around this for so long. Now, a lot of you guys might notice, but he's also got one of the best beards that you will ever see. We get to see it on a weekly basis. I touch it once in a while, I'll be honest with you. But he's literally one of the best beard for male developers on the Gold Coast. And hopefully, if you guys come to the event at some point, you'll get to see it in real life as well. And touch, if you're lucky. Carson.
Yeah.
Also, obviously, a co-founder of Unemployable Property. Business partners, as I said before, with Shannon. This guy lives and breathes acquisitions. He's a bit of a freak, I must admit. He's up at night looking for deals, looking for sites. He's great with funding strategies and how to get the deal done, right? And structure them. This guy looks at deals that nobody else wants and he structures them with maximum uplift. And again, not used to this, but he's got one mean mustache that he's literally about 3 days old. He came into the podcast the other day and said, like, what's going on with your mustache? He's like, I don't know. My wife might make me shave it off, but he's obviously still got it on, so he's not divorced yet, and that's a good sign, huh?
It's feeling very unmanly, you know, big Viking over here. So I had to do something just to try and man it up a bit.
Fit in.
And we got Kevin Dooney. Kevin has been on the podcast with us now for a little while. Kevin's done more deals than any of us put together on this panel, right? He's the owner of the Future Housing Task Force, which is a leader in smaller housing, in the smaller housing sector. Believe it or not, this guy has been involved in over 20,000 property transactions in his career. He comes with many, many years of property development experience, and he wanted to join us tonight so he can add as much value on the call as possible. We just said, hey, Kev, we're doing this live stream. What do you think of coming along? And he's instantly, yes, he just wants to add so much value. He's got so much wisdom. He's basically our living, property encyclopedia. He's old enough to have seen everything, right? But he's wise enough to remember none of it correctly. But Kevin, you know what? Thanks for coming on, mate. Really appreciate you.
Thanks for that.
And we're getting into the questions soon, guys. And for those who don't know me, I'm Eric. I'm the other co-founder of Unemployable Property, property junkie. Property development has literally changed my life, and I hope tonight it can help you as well. I'll keep things moving forward, but let's make sure I will promise to keep it really practical tonight. The reason why we're running Ask Us Anything is simple, right? There's a massive gap in the property space right now. On one side, you got investors stuck buying one property at a time, and usually most people only ever own one property, and sometimes they don't even get to own it. More and more people are getting squeezed by tax, rates, yields, and on the other side, you've got developers who understand leverage. They understand the value of control and the value of creation and manufacturing equity. This live stream exists to bridge that gap. I want to be very clear on that. Not to turn you into a 100-unit developer overnight, but to show you how small, repeatable developments can change your financial trajectory like it's changed mine and these guys. Now, for us to help you, think about your questions in these areas, right? Like, how do people fund deals without having millions in cash? What's stopping most people from doing subdivisions? What mistakes cost the most? Ask real questions. Be specific, right? I'm reading through these questions, so I'm just going to have a look at them and just be very specific and be very clear, please. Now, one last time, on the bottom right-hand corner, click scan the QR code or go to www.unemployableproperty.com.au /spin the wheel.
Just, Stu, can we chuck that up in the comments again
Yeah.
so people can click on it?
Yeah, it's also in the comments. He'll be putting it in the comments. Let's do that. Now we'll give you guys maybe 30 to 60 seconds to get that done. And then camera guys, Liam, take that down. This is for the draw, guys. For 2 tickets, they're $695 each to the event. Plus, we're going to give away a few hats. All right. You ready?
Ready to roll.
Let's get stuck into it. So I can already see some great questions coming through. So let me just have a look here on some of these questions. All right, here's a good question, and this is going to be for you, Shannon. What's an average cost of civil construction per lot for a subdivision in Queensland ready to build on?
Ready to build on. What's the cost per square metre to build a house? No one knows. It changes it on every single project. It's different. So whether you're building a small project like a 400 square metre lot, or you're doing an acreage. So some of our acreage sites have road frontage of up to 50, 80, 100 metres sometimes. So you're putting in a lot of road for a single lot. Then when you go back to 400 square metre lots, you can put in as much as 10 or 20 metres. So your construction reduces severely for each of these examples. And then it depends on material type, what you have to do for the council in that area, curb.
Could you nail it down to, say, a 400 square metre lot subdivision as an example, as a rough?
I wouldn't give a straight answer. We float anywhere between 90 and 200
There you go.
as a range. So I wouldn't give a straight answer on just pick a number. It needs to go through an engineer and civil contractor to work that out. But an engineer always gives a pretty good answer.
There was a report recently that Colliers did, I believe, and they were saying the quote was around the 170, 180k a lot was the average across southeast Queensland. I think you could pretty much pick that up, give or take, anywhere you like. So, but to Shannon's point, we've got coaching clients that are doing with the road frontage. I think it was like $30,000 or $40,000 a lot, and then we've just finished one. It was over $200,000 a lot. So your engineer can help you out with that. I didn't know that early days. We'll just plug in numbers randomly, but a good engineer will do a bill of quantities, scratch something up for you, and help you kind of get that number while you're doing your due diligence. So.
All right, let's move on to the next question. We've got Paul. Paul, so the question is, in a tight market, what channels are most effective in Southeast Queensland specifically for finding development sites off market, and how do you assess planning, yield, and infrastructure risks? So it's really 2 questions there. One is, what channels are you using to find off-market sites, and how are you assessing planning and yield and infrastructure risk? I think this is a great question for you, Carson.
Finding sites, like agents are probably your best bang for buck if you're starting out creating relationships with agents. Like I'd say to a lot of our guys is, go on to realestate.com and even look at the ones that have sold that you could have developed, or you might go back and see, go into realestate.com, put in, the sold section, subdivide, develop, subdivision, have a look at all the stuff that's sold, ring up some of those agents and say, hey, 5 John Street, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And then, tell them you're market ready. Hopefully you want to be market ready, and then, be front of mind for these agents. We had an agent on the pod just recently, and I asked him that exact question. How do we get on your, Rolodex of numbers of someone you're going to call? And you just got to be front of mind, make sure that you're adding value to that agent as much as possible. But so agents are probably the easiest way you can do. I mean, we've done letterbox drops. We sent about 900 to get one deal over the line. It was worth it, but it's a lot of work to do that. So when you're starting out, you'll probably quit along the way unless you're super motivated to do that. Agents are still going to be your best point of call for, creating those relationships. So what's your thoughts on that, Kevin? You've been doing this a bit longer than me.
Yeah. If you're dealing with agents, you'd say to them, look, if you can find the site for me, we'll help you to organise for you to sell it. So it gives them that hope of keeping the job. That's what they look for, is those commissions. Yep. Also, town planners are a big one. Another one we used to do is we'd always follow every subdivision and work out which town planning team did it, so we could start to figure out which teams found it. And we start to interview them saying, how did you get that deal? and build a relationship through your town planning teams, your engineering teams, who also will then get the job.
Yeah, no, that's good. There's a lot of mum dad agents. Probably there's also like 5% of agents or even less that specialise in hunting development sites. You want to find who those guys and girls are, because they are, especially they've probably got one big sale over the line and got the big commission check, and they're like, we'll just go after development site. And they understand it a lot more intimately than the mum dad agent. So there's a few buyers agents out there that just do development specific sites, but you'll find that there's certain agents that just do it as well. So if you can get chummy with them, that's gonna be the way to go.
Another question here. If you don't have your name on there, I'll just say exactly whatever your tag is. So LDF7J. What are the pros and cons of investing directly into a property compared to buying REITs? So REITs is a real estate investment trust, such as VAP. That's the question. I'd like to answer this one, and if anyone wants to chime in. Again, I said something earlier, right, with developers, leverage and control. I like to be in control of my own destiny. If you want to just invest in a REIT, it's a bit more of a lazy investment for yourself that you're entrusting somebody else, right, a corporate company, to do what they do. And I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do, but for me, I like controlling the development myself. I like finding the development myself, investing, whether it's my own funds or doing a JV. I think it's just, and it also depends on your circumstances, right? Time. So if you're working full time and you've got 3 kids and you're a single dad or a single mom, or you just feel like you don't have the time to do something like this, then investing in something like a REIT, depending on which one that you're investing in, wouldn't probably be a bad option. But for me, if you actually put some time aside and get committed and learn to do these things, and this is the thing with what we're doing. We didn't come from money, right? We started literally with nothing. Like Carson, I say this story all the time, was cleaning, 5 years ago, he was cleaning carpets on $1,000 a week. Like, that is the reality of his life. But he decided, you know what, I'm gonna take control, I'm gonna learn how to do this. And now, he's changed his life, his family's life, and for generations. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Do you guys want to add anything to that one?
Look, I think some of these groups that pitch deals to you and you put in your money and you get a return or whatever it might be, like sometimes there's big acquisition fees that they pull out of it, and then big project development management fees all the way through as well. So you just got to make sure you look into the numbers and make sure that they're a reputable group, because unfortunately I've seen them go south as well. And I mean, doing your own deal can go south. There's risk in anything that you do, but you just got to make sure you're getting into the weeds, because anytime, whether it's a joint venture or whether it's one of these groups, you've still got to look at that deal as if you're buying it yourself. Don't take the numbers as gospel that they're giving you for the sales. You've got to do your own homework, because at the end of the day, if it all goes wrong, you've got to make sure that you've given the best chance by doing your homework. So,
I think one thing I'll quickly add is a company that sells cars, BYD, Build Your Dream. In the business of property, it's build your dream team. And once you've got your dream team, makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah. The consultants do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. That's for sure. All right, so we've got Keith Korostevets. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Keith. What do you think of this year with the chance of a couple rate rises coming up, and how is it going to affect the market? Kevin.
I think there's a very good chance the rates will go up, because it's always the way they play. Hook them first and bill them second. But in terms of how it affects the market, we're in a market at the moment of frenetic activity. We're not building enough stock. We've got a lot of people wanting to play. I don't really think it's going to have any impact on the market. I think we're still going to get probably a 5 or 6% rise this year. Looking forward into 2027, I'd probably hold on to some of your hats. But this year, I think it's not going to be affected at all. It'll upset people's affordabilities, but it won't create a problem. Although I'd keep an eye on the fact that we have a 13% rise in cars being repossessed, so there is a lot of pain out there at the moment. And so no, I wouldn't be overly concerned about it.
Kerry Cullen, what type of projects do you think will struggle over the next 3 to 5 years in Australia? Carson.
Look, good question. I think we're staying away from built form a lot. We are doing a little bit at the moment. We've got 34 units that we're doing at the bottom end of the market, but anything that's got like a really heavy construction piece, especially in the built form, I just think that there's a lot of risk with that. So I just stay away from, really heavy, big built form, projects, especially if they're long-winded. To Kevin's point, if there is a bit of pain in a couple of years' time, you don't want to be in a really long-winded deal. You want to be in some shorter deals, or you want to make sure you got plenty of margin. So, me and Shan chase more difficult sites that have a lot of fat in the deals, probably double what a lot of developers are happy to chase. So the way I look at it, if our average project's been, say, 35, 40% margins at the end of it, if we have a 20% drop, we're still making 20%. But if we know people that are doing high rises on 15, 17% margins, and you have a 20% drop and it's game over.
That's the market I was going to mention, which we don't play in at all, but you might be able to recall the statistics from the DA approval. We went to a meeting, or a UDIA meeting, and the approvals of high-rises, developments, it was only like 40% of them actually get built out of 100% that get approved, because they just don't stack unless they're super high-end and the square metre sale price is right up there to cover the cost. Like those towers aren't stacking up at the moment very well. They're very low margin.
Kevin, you've been through plenty of cycles, mate. What's your thoughts?
More bad than good. Well, since '79, everyone who gets caught in the high-rise market, except for someone like Harry Triggerboss, because he always built the low end of it. So he built affordability within the high-rise. So he was the first one to sell because he was racking, packing and stacking. But once you start getting caught up in the concept of, it's $12.5 a metre to build a high-rise these days with the land, that's 1.2 million for a 100 square metre unit, and the resale market is still somewhere in the 900s and 800s. So you're going to get caught with your resales, and they're going to kill you.
I once heard a saying from a very famous developer, and he said, "Build for the masses and eat like a king." Right, and he builds boxes. That's what he does. He's in the high-rise market, but he builds boxes. It's the same thing over and over again, and he has a certain avatar, a certain target market that he uses. So I think, even though there's a lot of money coming in, that high-end luxury, $30,000 a square meter, one per floor, that was booming like crazy throughout throughout COVID, that is starting to slow, in my opinion. Obviously, there's a lot higher risk in that, and we just had another buyer's agent that we were talking to not long ago, talking about how acreage sites are becoming harder and harder to develop through councils, and I think you said this as well, Carson, is they're starting to want smaller and smaller blocks. So those are some of the questions that you need to ask, agents and town planners and these types of things. So yeah, in my opinion, I think moving forward is smaller blocks. Anything too big, probably a little bit more high risk, and you probably have to have fairly deep pockets. All right, we've got Nicholas Denshire. Do you typically pay a premium to get due diligence clauses longer than a month or so in a contract?
No, the good thing is when you get out of the mum, dad kind of 1 and 2s and into bigger sites, like a lot of the time the client knows they're sitting on a development site and they understand that you need due diligence. When the market's really, really hot, but like every site bar maybe one that me and Shannon bought out of like the 20 have all had due diligence clauses. And look, for sometimes you miss out of them, but for me for the most part it's a non-negotiable unless it's an absolute no-brainer and you're stealing the site. We're not paying a premium for it, and sometimes we use it to get into the deal, and then if we need to renegotiate from there once we find out some bits and pieces. But yes, it's just really difficult when you're doing a splitter potentially, and you're trying to get a long due diligence clause. But if you've got something that's got a few warts on it, a few moving parts, then it's not that difficult. So
We're typically honest with the problems that the site potentially has and negotiating as to why we need the due diligence so we can get across these problems to offer the price that we're putting forward.
Guys, if you're enjoying these questions and answers, show us in the comments, show us some love just to make sure that we know we're hitting the mark here. And keep bringing in the questions, please. Keep bringing them in.
The crazy thing about due diligence, though, like that was one of the biggest things that I learnt early days. Like I you know, subject to finance, building and pest. Like I didn't even know you could put a DD clause into it. It gave me a safety net to then make offers, knowing that, you know, I only had $1,000 to put down as a deposit. I didn't have the 5,000. Then I'd be like, okay, put down 1,000, and after it's satisfied, then I'll give you the balance. And in the meantime, I was trying to find someone that had some money to actually do that. But it gave me the confidence to actually start making offers, because I knew I'd get my money back if I pulled out of the DD. And yeah,
$1,000 is a big spender.
right, that was on the credit card too, I think.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a little break, and we're gonna do our first giveaway. So Liam, if you could get the Wheel of Fortune up. All right, we're gonna do our first unemployable hat giveaway.
Oh,
Take it
some
away,
names.
Liam. Stefan Kernetta, you're the one that has won an Unemployable Media hat. And yeah, we'll get the team to get that one sent out to you. Well done.
Nice.
Awesome. Are you still in the comments?
Yeah, are you in the comments? Are you here, Stefan? You better be. You better still be here. Let us know in the comments. All right, what do we got here? What are some of the techniques to sweeten the deal for a vendor finance proposal securing a long settlement for a DA uplift?
We just did one recently where
Good question.
this is the first time we've offered it. We actually gave them a certain offer price, and then we said if any amount of lots that we get above that, we'll give you an extra, I think it was $150,000 per lot. Oh no, sorry, it's $300,000.
$300,000 a lot. So we threw a kicker in there per block that was developed.
Yeah, and these blocks are worth 1.2, so it makes sense for us to throw that in. And our offer was actually, we were the fourth highest offer. So the top two had really long due diligence clauses, and then there was one that was similar to us, but that little kicker that we put in there actually got it over the line. This was on market, and it wasn't a vendor finance, but you can still do something similar in that space where they're kind of sharing in, some of the upside wins with you. Because the biggest thing with doing a deal off market is actually demonstrating to them that you're not ripping them off, and that it's fair. If they'd gone to market, would have they got more money? So that's always the challenge. You've seen some creative strategies, Kevin, over the times in that space, did you?
I have,
big boys?
Yeah, very much so. One of the big kickers is to say to someone, we'll pay you this much now, but we'll also pay you in the next tax year, and the next tax year, and the next tax year. So the big change for, say, Maha Senanthambi, which was Springfield, he did a deal with a JV with the boys at the time to where he would get 25% of every sale. And as the price increased, he would get 25% of the action. And that was the thing that brought it over the line, and they bought the skill sets to then create the rates of sale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest subdivisions on the Gold Coast right now. The developer doesn't own it. It's essentially a joint venture with the landowners.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a million different ways to do it. So yeah.
Cool. Next question. Jess De Silva. Nice to see you on here, Jess. Question. What was your first property deal you each did, and how did you finance it? So, Carson.
First deal I did was with my folks. It was up in Springbrook on the Gold Coast. I knew we'd gone and sat down with our financiers, and I think we could afford up to $600,000. So we had a line of credit facility set up as well with about $170,000 play money. So that was our deposit to buy the property and also to do the deal. So we had to find a pretty small little deal. So I was targeting sites on multiple lots and or titles. so that the construction side of things was going to be pretty low. So the very first deal was traditional finance. I did a 3-day, was literally sitting in the school pickup, saw a deal come up about 4 o'clock, told the agent I wanted to make an offer right there and then. They sent over the contract, a 3-day due diligence clause to give me a bit of an out, because we already had finance sorted. And we put it under contract, and basically I worked out that I could, separate the titles. Talking to the lawyer, we paid $355. There was a little cottage on one title, and then there was 2 separate titles. So after we settled on the property, we got it revalued. We got the titles separated through the solicitor, and it was valued at $505,000 or $510,000 or something like that, literally a few weeks after we settled on it, just by separating the titles, because a lot of vendors amalgamate the titles so they're only paying one set of rates. So as soon as you separate them again, then the bank can value them as 3 separate lots as opposed to one lot, so one title on 3 lots on one title. So that was our very first deal, and that's how we got into it. So
I won't ask your first deal, Kevin, because you probably put a deposit of $15 and the property was, $350.
Actually, it was like that. The first deal I did was I bought a house because we didn't have one at the time, and it was back in 81. The freeway was about to open on Mains Road, and the client wanted too much for the house, but she was very rich, Mrs. McDonald. And so I said to her, I will move into the house immediately, it's vacant, I'll pay you in a year's time, but I can't put any money down. So I got to live there for free for a year, and after the freeway opened, we ended up picking up 35 grand on that deal. And then I did the same on another main road, so I kept buying houses where they were overpriced, but getting long-term settlements to catch the jump in the market.
Yeah.
So that's how I started building things, and then I traded all my real estate to get into real estate agencies, and we had 12 of them and 125 staff using the real estate to do that, and that's when we started doing deals.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah. My first property was not so successful. It wasn't a deal. The very first one, I jumped into a house unit here locally, paid $292 for it in 2008, and then GFC hit mid-year, and we carried the cost of it for 8 to 10 years, paying the interest, paying the insurance, and till we broke even 10 years later. At that point, I thought property was a hoax. I was like, that's it. Property's a rip-off. I'm never getting back into it. But yeah, first deal was the 3-lot JV with Carson here on the Gold Coast. We made the barbecue, and you had your acquisition eye tuned in then, and you're finding properties left, right and centre, and we ended up doing a 3-lotter that looked pretty difficult to Carson from a construction piece, but it was a fairly simple one in my world. And we went and knocked that out, and that was the start of it all. So,
it's interesting when you start thinking back of your first deals. I was in Canada still. I was in college, and my dad was trying to talk me out of buying it. It was a duplex, and I paid $165,000 for it, and a portion of the deposit came from my credit card. Funny enough, and then saved some money and renovated that, and had a nightmare time with tenants and rats and all kinds of stuff, and ended up flipping that. Kept it for a while and flipped that one, and then did it again in Canada, and kind of 3-4 properties in from there. And a lot of people are going to listen to this, go, $165,000. This is 23 years ago now, which is a long time, right? But again, got into the market and took a plunge. You can't do a lot of certain things you could do back in the day. You can't do a lot of that stuff now. You got to be a little bit creative. But I never thought of JVs, and it's like you either have the money to do something, or you don't have the money to do something. So yeah, that was mine. As someone, Lewis White, as someone still earning my stripes in WA development, I'm curious, what's the mistake you see beginners make that feels smart at the time but ends up costing them big in the feasibility stage?
In my opinion, you don't go broke making a profit, but the amount of people that go broke buying a bargain is amazing. They buy it thinking it's a great buy, but it's got hairs on it. and so they get caught up in, gee, that's a good buy. And then they start to think, I can use my creative skills to make it make money. You've got to make it make money without you adding your creative skills. It's got to stack up on the numbers, not what you can do with it. That's where they get caught.
Yeah, a lot of people just get caught on the time frames. Everyone underestimates how long it's going to take, or if you're a muppet like me, you just don't put the GST into your feasibility and it looks great. But so make sure you're doing that. So I think having a really simple. I actually did a course where they gave me a feasibility and it was this big fandangle thing, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it at all. So I didn't do anything, and I just got a feasibility that was really, really simple that we wrapped our head around, and that just helped me to actually, okay, what's the number spit out? Okay, 20% margin. Yep, happy days, and away we go, or hopefully more. But you just want to make sure, you're covering off all that. You got a feasibility that kind of inputs it for you, so it makes it idiot-proof.
I got one here. How do you finance deals when the banks say no, right? And this goes, back in the day, it's serviceability. I make a certain amount of money. That's what I show on my tax return, whether it's a PAYG or you're a contractor or a business owner, and you pay the tax, and then you go to the bank and they say you can only borrow $800,000 or $1 million or $1.5 million. What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, well, that was kind of that's why I did joint ventures for so long. Carpet cleaning, I was never going to get a loan myself. I couldn't even get a car loan, let alone a house loan. So I just had to look at creative strategy. So for me, it was joint ventures because I found someone that actually had the serviceability, and me and Shannon partnered with them and did a number of deals. And then we bought a site off someone that actually had been funded by the private lending world, and it was a bit of a shark, and they all got wrapped up. And I remember saying, I'm never going to do private lending. It's it's dangerous sport, and they're just there to kind of loan to own type thing. And then I had a lot of friends that were actually doing really well in that space, and seeing them have multiple deals and trying to work out how the heck they fund these things. So I guess it's finding a really good broker that understands that world, and then hopefully structuring deals, but capitalised interest, getting long approvals and getting that uplift got us, me and Shannon, into many deals, like one we've just recently finished.
So I was going to say, we lean on the later out of that, structuring deals correctly and getting the equity uplift through approvals, so getting those long-term settlements, able to increase the value of the property through a development application, and then that's what's given us the legs to keep going. And then you don't hit the serviceability barrier. So the deal's looked at on its own, and is able to fund itself in the private equity world or the private funding world. So
one of the plays we've done in this year, last year just gone, was we said to the client, it's a 5-lot subdivision. We would like you to be the banker. You lend the money at 10% compounding, and you'll get 50% of the profit as well. So they knew that as a banker they'd make 10% on their money, and then they knew that the risk profile was good, and so 50% of the margin of profit meant that they're making 10 plus the benefit of being in the deal, and that was pretty good. Whereas most people try to say, I found a great site, and they think that's a value. It's not. It's the money. And so use them as a banker. They get that guarantee of income for them, and it really relaxes them a lot.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I was travelling in circles where nobody really had a lot of money. So you have to put yourself in a position where you're going to meet people, and going to some of these property groups and different things. All of a sudden I realise there's a lot of people that actually do have a lot of money, and they're looking for, a lot of them are really busy. So if you can put an opportunity in front of them where they're getting 5-6% in the bank, and you're offering something like, I think the last joint venture one that me and Shan did, they doubled their money in over 15 months, I believe it was. Yes, there's more risk in that, and that was just their share. We got the same. We didn't put a dime of our own money. So there's a lot of people that are looking for opportunities and back a good horse. And if you're that good horse, happy days. And if you don't have the understanding, you can pass the deal on to someone else, or you can bring in an experienced developer to be that working party and share your 50% of the profits, with you. So there's a million different ways of doing it. You just got to kind of put yourself in an area where you're going to find those people, I suppose. But back to Shannon's point about the uplift, one thing that kind of blew my mind is that the private lenders might be simple to a lot of people that have been doing this a long time, but they lend you the interest and then draw down on it, you know. So they actually give you a facility, and so that it takes a while. That the private finance and the construction finance, it's different to your typical mum-dad loan. So you spend a bit of time understanding that, and that's your best bang for buck.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've always traditionally funded through traditional banks, right? It wasn't until really I met, Shannon and Carson, and I've had friends that have done it, but I was just like, just make money, show the bank you're making money, get a cheaper rate from the big four banks, and keep going. And then, open my eyes to the whole, private finance and structure, and it just changes. It changes everything.
Once you get into that bigger world, you have to learn that anyway. But
correct.
We just paid down the other day a little over $11 million loan with one of the big four banks. It's like $20,000 a week in interest alone. Like, what serviceability do you need to actually fund that from a normal perspective?
Yeah. And I don't want you guys to miss what Shannon said earlier is when you're dealing with non-traditional banks, they don't look at your credit card statements. They don't want to know how much Uber Eats that you're actually ordering and how many times you're buying clothes at Zara. They look at the actual project by project on its own, like its own business, right? That's what they actually do. So it's a total different way of thinking. Where do you find joint venture partners? This is a question that I have, right? So I know there'll be a lot of people here that want to learn how to do these things, but they just don't have the money, and there isn't an inherence coming in, and it might be their first or second development. They might not be as confident to go and use a private lender because their, uncle's friend got screwed by a private lender back in the day who was a shark, as an example. So how do you find joint venture partners?
Put yourself in the right community. I'd go as simple as that. Be around other people doing exactly that, around property or whatever it is you're trying to do, and you'll find them in there.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be unemployable property. It's just, there's lots of different groups. Just surround yourself, with as much as you can. Like, obviously we've got an event coming up where the last event that we ran, one of the guys bumped into a developer there. He had the funds. They're doing a joint venture. They're on their second joint venture right now from an event. What was that, 4 or 5 months ago? So it's just putting yourself in a room where you're gonna meet these people. So, and typically, if you're going to property events, people are already conditioned to want to do property deals. They just might not have found them. So, out of all the people, you can have someone that's got $10 million, or you have someone that's an absolute weapon at finding and putting deals together. In 20 years' time, the guy that's finding the deals and putting it together, they'll probably be further ahead. So I think that's exciting for someone that's got nothing. Just get really, really good at finding deals, assessing risk, tying them up, doing feasibilities. If you can just do that one job really, really well, whether you're just passing them on initially or bringing in joint venture parties. But yeah, you got to put yourself in a room. Yeah.
All right, it's that time. Another unemployable hat that is worth $362 up for grabs. This is a very special one of one. All right, Liam, let's roll. What do we got? Who do we got? Ooh, Michael P. Congratulations, you've won the one of one unemployable property black hat with white writing.
Signed by Eric.
Signed by me. Guys, let us know in the comments. Are we doing well? Give us some love. Give us some hearts. Give us some 100%. I'm watching it. It's live.
I'd like to add something that you mentioned earlier. Confusion equals no. And when people put a deal to someone who's got money, if there's even a hint of confusion, you will automatically get to know. You've got to know that deal as though it's your child. You've got to know its history. You've got to know where it's going. You've got to know the numbers. You've got to really get it down to an elevator pitch.
100%.
How good is this? I'm just reading in the comments. Tim Cornbridge literally spent $362 on an emergency vet bill this morning. Imagine the exact amount that I said.
Give him a hat.
I've got one in here for Kev.
For me?
For you.
Oh, thank you.
It is, what's the most common piece of advice given to beginners that actually sets them up to fail?
That stops them failing, you mean?
Sets them up to fail.
They want me to...
What's some poor advice that people get that they shouldn't do?
Oh, so tell them, okay, well, gee, that's an unusual way of going about it. Already that guy's dead with that sort of thinking. But anyway, the way to fail is you hold on to a deal like it's the only deal that's in the marketplace. You hold on to a deal and you don't want to share any of the margins or any of the profits. You're not flexible enough to actually let go and just let it grow. You don't do your homework properly. You haven't built a dream team to start with. You haven't taken the time before you get to a subdivision. What you should have done was make sure you interviewed everybody as a developer in that area as though you were a reporter to see what they did right and get to know them and really say nice things to them. They love validation. The richer they are, the more they like validation, for Christ's sake, because they're not told how much greater they are when they get good at it. So, piss in their pocket and tell them it's raining if you like, but, do that stuff. But if you don't do that and you don't do your homework and you haven't thought about the money, it's always about the money, and also check out rates of sales, check out everything you like, or just go out and buy the bloody deal and go broke. That's the best way to go broke. Just do that.
I love it. Before we go any deeper to the next part, guys, I just want to quickly show you guys something, because what we've been talking about here is exactly why we built Unemployable Property in the first place. A lot of people ask us where these conversations actually continue, right? Beyond the podcasts, beyond the live streams when, reality hits us in the face tomorrow and you got to pack the school bag and the lunches and go to work. And the honest answer is being in the room, right? That's how Carson learned what he's doing. That's how Shannon met Carson, not in a room, but at a barbecue. And damn, that would have been the best hot dog you've ever ate in your life, meeting this guy. Hey, how good is that? But literally, like, in person with people actually doing this stuff. That's where the magic happens, like what you just said, Carson, earlier, with that JV deal happening. So we've got an event coming up, and rather me explaining it, right, I want you guys to watch this video.
It's happening. We're running a 2-day property development event at the luxury Mondrian Hotel in Burleigh Heads here on the Gold Coast, and we want you there. Because if property development is even on your radar, this will save you years of guessing. Over 2 days, you'll see how deals are actually found, how people fund them without having to be rich, and how projects go from the idea to actually being built. You'll hear from people doing it right now, with special guest Michael Matusik, Australia's leading property analyst and commentator on what the market is actually doing right now. Funding specialists showing you how money actually flows. You'll leave knowing what your next move should be. Check the link below, grab your early bird tickets now, and let's start developing.
All right, so guys, if there's any interest at all, we've got a landing page. The boys are going to put it down on your screen, bottom right-hand corner. You've got a QR code. You've got a link there, www.unemployableproperty.com.au/event. If you have any interest, go to the landing page, have a look, learn a little bit more about it, and we'll go right into the next lot of questions. So let's have a look at which ones have been...
I wouldn't mind adding a quick comment on that if I could.
Of course.
I'm also there for 2 days. I've been asked to do some MC work on that particular one. I've worked with Michael Matusik for 35 years. The guy's actually a genius. What you'd learn from him is incredible. But more importantly, I know half the people that are coming there, and there's such a brain trust coming to that event that you're missing that hot dog with someone that could make you a lot of money. So just keep that in mind, guys. This is not just there to listen and learn. This is about learning how to hustle.
Man, if I was there that day at that barbecue, I would have just kicked Shannon in the back to get introduced to Carson at that point in time. It's a two-way street. All jokes aside, guys, the way these two guys work, they're so in sync and they stay in their lanes, and it's a pleasure, and I'm very grateful to work with you guys and see what you guys are actually creating. And it's waking me up to a lot of different things as well. And even James, I know James is here with us in the studio, and sometimes we just scratch our heads going, like, how are they actually doing this? And this is why, again, unemployable property.
The mystery of finance as well. Like, we've got the concierge guys, a lot of the the boys that have helped us transition into that private world. They're going to be there, and you can sit there and ask questions to them. And that was these events I used to love, just going and picking the brains of those kind of guys and just asking the stupid questions. You're too afraid to sit up, ring them and ask them. Whereas at an event, it feels a lot easier to do. But I've got a question here for you, Kev. Where should we be looking for sites right now? Like, where do you think are the areas that are, hot to look in?
Oh, I love this one. In my 40 years or since I was playing fullback in Jerusalem, whenever it was, the way my developers would go broke is that they would make a lot of money in Brizzy, then they'd go to Whitsundays and have a sale and buy something in Airlie Beach. And what you forget is anything north of pretty well Gympie is about 1 million people living above that. So when you look at southeast Queensland, the money is south. In New South Wales, it might be somewhere like Port Macquarie, it might be somewhere like Coffs Harbour. That's where I'm looking at the moment. But that doesn't mean to say you should go there, guys. Don't do that. It means that you've got to go where the population is. That's the thing. And what you're looking for is one job equals one house. So do not buy subdivisions as a bargain where it's mining, because one house can suddenly not be needed because the jobs aren't there. So you've got to go where the jobs are. Working class towns is a good place to be. Broken Hill at the moment just sold houses as cheap as 195 grand, I'm not saying go to Broken Hill either, but I am saying that do your homework on the model of one job equals one house. That's the key to this everything that I've learned. And do not ever have a holiday in a boat and take your wallet with you. That's the other way to go broke. Don't do that.
I got a question more around the find, right? What's the percentage of, because there's a lot of questions coming in about off market. What's the percentage of your guys' deals that you're doing right now, or that you have done, that would have been off market deals versus deals literally that are on the market on realestate.com or Real Commercial or Domain, as an example?
Like, I know developers that, I was talking to one the other day, and these last 10 acquisitions were all off markets because they've just 10 years of talking to the right agents and actually following through and buying sites. They know they just bring the deals to him, and it's taken him a lot of time to bring that. For us, it's been, I think about our board now, like pretty much
all of them are on market.
All of them are on market. We've got one at the moment which is pretty much agreed to, which is off market, which I met an agent for a deal that fell over, and we've had like about 6 other deals that have fallen over, and now we've got one that's looks like it's going to go ahead. It's pretty much agreed to. That's off market, but there's just an agent bringing me deals. And we got probably every day on average, I'll get an agent bringing me a deal now. But that's over a long time of just hounding agents and saying, hey, dangling the carrot. Hey, if you bring me a good deal, I'd love to sell it. But because they're motivated by commission at the end of the day, if they want to, if they've got a big lifestyle block, if they're going to sell it to a mum and dad, they don't get any commission out the back end. So I always dangle that carrot where I can. I can't remember what the question was.
Yeah, the percentage of off-market deals versus on-market deals.
Squirrel.
Look, we've done one. Like I said, that letter one was one of our best deals. It took a long time, and I quit. I did about 300 letters, stopped. Was getting frustrated. There wasn't much on market. Sent out another 600 letters, and then finally, met the lady, went to her house, and we did that deal. We just put a little tea bag in the letter, so she opened it with something chunky in there. Basically, the letter said something along the lines of, "Hey, I can pay above market value if we can work out the right terms, as long as it's a win-win. Give me a buzz." And an agent had just offered appraised her property at $850. I asked for 6 months settlement. We ended on $910, so she didn't have to pay agent commission. She got 60 grand more than she thought she was going to get. I got an approval during that period. So we got approval during that period. It had like a $300,000 uplift. We were able to then get into that deal with very little money. Everybody wins. And at the end, she texted us going, hey, I've always knew a developer would knock on my door and buy this off us. And it looks great. We were never going to do it. Win-win. And not everyone's, that's not always going to be the scenario. But we made, 700 grand out of that deal. So we had a 6 months lead in, so we were paying some consultant fees before we settled. By the time we settled, it was shovel ready, and we were in and out of that deal in 5 months to make 700 grand profit.
Nice.
So yes, it was a lot of painful, and I quit a couple of times along the way. But 700 grand, that's what's that? That's a lot of years of carpet cleaning. So 14 years.
It's a couple.
It's life changing for a lot of people, right? That's the reality, and you can't compare your first inning to someone's 8th or 9th inning, right? Like, it just matters. Some people are listening to this just for entertainment. Other people are listening to this because they're like, I need to make an extra 50 grand a year for multiple reasons. Or, I want to make my next $500,000, or I'm sick of my job and I want to get out. Like, this is the reality on a lot of this stuff.
Another one came to us off market. It didn't quite stack for us, but I thought this might be a good childcare centre. I just posted up in a property group. Someone said yes, charged a $40,000 spotter's fee. Another one I put under an option, had a few curly things, a bit too, like we would tackle it now, but it was back then, it was a make or break for me. So, and once again, we always said, if you can't handle the worst case scenario, don't do it. So I passed that on for a $40,000 spotter's fee. And then we did one just before the one I was just talking about with the letter, and an agent once again bought us the deal. We just had a pre-lodgement meeting, put it under contract with a 3-month due diligence clause, took the minutes from the meeting with council to the developer and said, hey, developer, this is council saying there's a good chance you might get 17 lots out of this. And we just on-sold the company that signed the contract to that developer for $540,000 in a over a few month period of just finding the deal, putting it together. And yes, we pay tax on it and all the rest, but who cares? And that's not always the case. But those little deals are sweet. And then sometimes those bigger ones come along.
How much was it? 540.
540.
Who in the comments would like to make 540 grand in how long?
3 or 4 months.
In 3 or 4 months.
I was seeing someone
You tell me
writing
who
there,
doesn't want to make that.
700 is a lot of hot dogs.
You know what? I'm telling you right now, I'm looking in the comments and there's a lot of people going, hot dogs, I now want hot dogs. Well, guess what, guys? At the event, I will promise you, you will have the best hot dogs. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say promise you.
Can I add something?
Because the food's going to be a lot better there.
I think the biggest key is you spend your life with a whole bunch of friends that earn about the same as you, or maybe 10% more or less than you. The biggest trick that Carson and Shannon had to make was to learn to let go of all of that and start thinking like a developer, and start thinking that money is not a problem. You've got to change your mindset as much as anything to make this stuff work.
I agree.
And I see people come to me and they want to buy a deal, and I look at them and go, you're not going to make it. I'm sorry, can't do it.
I got another find question, and there's been that many questions that came through, so I can't say what your name is. I'm trying to find the question again, but I know what it is. What platforms or subscriptions are you guys using to find deals?
So a couple of things. I use Stash to do a lot of the off-market deals. That's how we found that deal. So as long as you know your, the square meterage of what you're looking for and the zoning, it'll actually shortlist the suburb. So you got to know the basics of the town planning, and you buy an hours of the town planner in that area to understand those things. And that's how we use that with Price Finder to find the vendor's details. And in that particular one that we sent a letter to, we didn't actually send it to the house. We sent it to, because it was an investment property, we sent it to where they were living. So it gives you all those details. So that's a great little platform to use. What else do we use? I use, this is Southeast Queensland based, but I use a little app called Properties. It really helped me assess a deal really quickly, where thanks to Kevin Doon, I went to one of his events 4 or 5 years ago and met a planner that put that app together. And it was for a real special person like me that doesn't really wrap my head around this stuff too well. That app really just gave me a lot of confidence to look at a deal really quickly and assess it. I mean, ChatGPT and all sorts of things. There's multiple different apps out there. You've got Archistar that you can use. A lot of people love that platform. That all costs money. CoreLogic, you can do a lot of things on there as well. But they're probably like Stash we use every single day. We're using CoreLogic or Price Finder, and then that's pretty much it.
Another really good question from Paul. Paul's got some really good questions here. And this is more probably on the find/develop side, I would say. Are there any upcoming planning or infrastructure policy changes in Queensland that you think would materially affect development feasibility over the next 2 years? Very, very well thought out. Kevin, is that something that any planning changes, any infrastructure changes that you know about?
You've got a new government in Queensland that has said the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life, which is we now wish to empower the local councils. And that's having massive impact on us in a couple of key areas. In rooming houses, big hit in the head there, because with councils being now in control, if you like, of being able to make decisions, that means it's a go slow problem in all those areas. There's no real major changes coming up in that. Most of the town plans have been written, most of the state government stuff's been written. But when you're saying 2 years, a subdivision is going to take you anywhere from 2 to 5 years anyway, unless you're doing a 1 into 2, and that's about 6 months, 9 months on the outside. So 1 into 5s, 1 into 10s, no real issue there. But I'd really keep an eye out for bigger parcels of land. That you've really got to watch this one carefully. It's not town planning, it's road widenings or new roads. We are in a real problem in Queensland where we've got one road through from the north coast to the south coast, and they're desperately looking for side roads, bypasses, anything they can get. So we're really, really careful with our main roads. They are hostile as hell.
Yep.
Carson, we were talking to a buyer's agent recently, and he was talking about how obviously Ipswich Council has already changed their town plan for more density, and Logan City Council are really looking at doing that as well, and Brisbane. So what's the best way for someone that's listening when we say, okay, they're changing their town plan? One, how do they find what that actually means? Where do they go?
Build your dream team.
That's it. Yeah, like we go to UDIA events, which is you can pay to go to that, and pay $1,000 a year, and you're sitting in there with the state, whoever, and the hoo-ha council officer, and they're talking about what they're doing and the updated plans. Like, so I think a lot of us little developers or wannabe developers, as we're getting into it, we're not really thinking about those updates. That's where the big people play. They want to get ahead of the curve, get it before it's coloured in the pink crayon, as you say, Kev. It gets in the new urban footprint. So, being at those events, talking to your planners, ask them to let you know when things are changing. They hear about things typically before the rest of us do. So, just once again, hang around those environments, and like a lot of the time, we've got a few planners that we use, and they'll send us stuff every couple of months. Hey, this is happening. Have you seen this? Just to keep us informed on what's happening. So.
Well, I tell this even to clients, I tell this to friends, I tell this, like if you just get referred to a town planner and pay them for their time, sit down with them for an hour, 2 hours, and come up with as many questions as possible, whether they're basic questions, wherever you're at, ask them what their hourly fee is, sit there and ask the question. Like if you're not willing to invest in yourself, or go to an event, or go to a town planner, again, the key is taking action. I've done that in the past. I've literally sat down with a town planner and just said, what does this mean? What is this? How does this work? Right at the beginning, like you need to learn these things. There's a lot of information now on YouTube and the rest of it, and obviously podcasts like ours and these live events. But it's basic things, guys, sometimes.
It's the best bang for your buck. And there's that many different councils. There's thousands across Australia. You can't be across everyone. Like, and we kind of teach generically how you can go about that. But a lot of the first steps, say, if someone wants to do something and we work out, okay, you want to do subdivisions. All right, you first go meet 3 town planners, offer to buy all their time. Hopefully only 2 of them might even take you up on that offer, because one of them wants your business. I try and get one of those planners that have just left one of the bigger firms and they're like eager to grow their own business and they want to help you out. And then you got the other planners that are like, okay, pay us $300 and we'll like assess your site. They're probably not the planner you want to help you out. So, but yeah, it's by far the best bang for buck. Every time we go to a new area, we do the same thing. We went to Perth, we did the same thing. You know, like wherever we're looking, just because we've got a team in South East Queensland, as soon as we went to New South Wales, it's a different game, different council you need to know. Sorry, Kev.
When you're paying for someone's time, they're a professional and they're very careful about what they answer, and they'll only answer the question in the way you asked it. A trick question to ask is, if it was your money, what would you do? Because when you ask, if it was your money, what would you do? There's no professional requirement then. I can open up and say, well, geez, if it was my money, I wouldn't do that, I'd do this. So it's a great question. You got to focus more on the questions. Really get good ones.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, guys, it's that time again. Another hat. Some lucky winner. Here we go. And the winner is Mark Thompson. Congratulations, Mark Thompson. Another unemployable hat roaming the streets of Australia. All right, let's get into a few more questions, guys. Another really good question, this is more of a developing question, is are most of your guys' projects impact or code accessible? And whoever wants to explain what impact and code accessible is first, I think that would be great. And then which ones are you guys doing?
Oh, that is a good one. Majority of our projects are all code accessible because we chose to not take on the risk of pushing the envelope with a lot of our developments, especially our first ones while we got going.
Can you tell us the difference between code and impact?
Yeah. Code is simply what has been designated to be built or allowable in that area, basically. So and as long as you're not impacting certain trees and waterways and creeks and road frontage width and all these things, if you can design something that's fit for purpose in that area, that's a code product and it doesn't go out for public notification. But if you want to push the envelope, say a site is allowable for 14 blocks, for instance, and that would be code, and it would go through the council process a lot smoother. If we were going to push for 16 or 18 in a certain site, then it gets questioned a bit harder in council and it goes out for public notification. So they put the big signboard out the front and then all the public in that area gets to have their say over that development as well.
Well, that's what we've got right now. We've got a 29 lot subdivision on the Gold Coast. We've lodged and we're right in that public notification. So everybody gets to have their 2 cents worth. It's too much traffic in the area. We don't like this. We don't like that. And some of them are legitimate concerns, and you can hopefully tweak your plans to do it. Or sometimes it's just like the traffic report says it's fine, and it doesn't matter what is going to happen. They're never going to be happy. But the other third part of that is have a look in your local council. That one that we sent the letter to, that me and Shan did, that was a risk smart assessment. It was actually a fast track DA. So it was done in a number of weeks. So some councils, if it's really a tick and flick, which is even like a quicker process than your code accessible, talk to your planners and get your head around what that looks like, because we did one in Logan and we were in and out very, very quickly. So yeah.
All right, I've got another one. How to fund? Tell me a little bit more about traditional. This is a funding question. Traditional banks, joint ventures, and say second tier lending. What are the two? What are the kind of pros and cons to each of those? Because you guys have dealt with banks, you've dealt with JVs, and you've dealt with lenders, right? Like underneath our hat, ideal capital execution, right, guys? Sometimes you're all three, sometimes you're two, sometimes you're one. But a lot of people, there's a lot of collaboration in property. So I want people to understand that so they can see what angle might be better for them.
Yeah.
I personally like joint ventures when you're starting out, because it takes a lot of that risk and heat off you if it takes a little bit longer. Like when you're starting out and you might have a little bit of capital or no capital, all of a sudden you've got someone else that can actually service that debt and hold that, and you don't have that pressure of the private money. It makes it so much easier. And then like stepping into that private world, the flexibility that offers you of, once that light bulb went off in our heads that, hang on a minute, we don't actually need to give away 50% of our profits. If we can just find a deal, secure it, and either raise just the deposit, or we can get enough uplift to essentially be the soft equity / deposit. Like to give you an example, this is an extreme example, but like the one that we just did recently, we had a 40% uplift on the a bank valuation before we settled on the property that we were able to use as our deposit to basically fund a very big project that we didn't have the funds to do ourselves. So just by structuring that deal correctly, we avoided having to do a joint venture. But joint ventures, I think, are amazing, and because I like that collaboration as well. I like working with Shannon, and then early days, our first joint venture party, she taught me a heck of a lot. She'd had some experience already. She could see that I was eager and we were eager to make things work, but they could also see that we were green and fumbling our way through. So we just geared it. I said, look, you have 85% of the profits, give me 15%. I won't even be in the joint venture agreement. Just employ us as a project manager, and if I'm terrible, sack me, and it'll just be the spotter's fee of 20 grand. So the risk to that person coming was like, okay, I actually like the deal. I actually think you could probably pull it off, but there's no real risk to that person. Like I made the deal pretty attractive for them to say yes, and then that led to bigger and bigger things. So as long as you don't get too greedy on that first one, what Kevin's point earlier, then it's the way I looked at it was we made 45 grand. They made 300 grand out of that first deal, but it was a hex deck that I didn't have, and we made a little bit of money. Like we learnt on the job, and you could get all the theory, but actually getting into a deal for JV, that was gold. It gave us the confidence to keep going.
The key point there is when winning is everything, surrender. Just let go.
Yep.
There's some comments asking how much are the tickets. Yes, if it's on the Gold Coast, our event is on the Gold Coast. In Burleigh Heads at the Mondrian Hotel, brand new 5-star luxury hotel. The tickets are $695 each. Literally, we're not even breaking even on the event, guys. We're just trying to get as many people there as possible to add value, because we honestly really enjoy what we do. That is full 2 days, catered, with a networking event on the Saturday night. So there's $695 for the people that were asking. Next question, for a rooming house, do you require, this is Natasha Fair, for a rooming house, do you require to do a public notification?
No. A rooming house is called a Class 1B construction. A house that you normally build with a builder is Class 1A. Class 1B is as of right. What I mean by that is you can get any residential block of land in Brisbane, or could. It's changing a bit now, but you can go to anywhere in Brisbane, buy a block of land if it's residential A. You can get it BA approved and DA approved by external certification within 4 weeks, start construction within 8. There is no external requirement. The only time it triggers that is if you buy a block of land that is, say, emerging communities, that is impact accessible. Then it has to go for an MCU and all sorts of other stuff. So make sure that you are able to do it without bothering council. External certification, everyone.
Thank you. Just looking at some more questions here. There's a lot of talk. Lots of talk in the comments, guys, which is good, but let's keep coming with some questions. I got Paul coming with some bangers, but I've already answered a fair few of his. I want to give everyone a little bit of love. Paul's a very successful guy himself, so.
There was a good one earlier. I've lost the name now, but it was when you were talking about, Carson, moving along that deal that you put an option on, and it was how do you structure a deal? How do you get a finder's fee for a deal, and how do you secure that and move it along without the worry of someone going to take it off you?
That's a good question. I think I'd ask some random person in Facebook for a non-disclosure agreement that they had, and I'd I just scratched up, because at the end of the day, if someone's going to take the deal off you and run off, are you going to sue them and chase them? It's probably not going to happen. But I did that, and whenever I posted a deal up, and I said, I want you to sign a non-disclosure, but 20 or 30% of people wouldn't sign it. So I was like, well, hopefully that's a bit of the, sifting process that's happening anyhow. And then it's just, you've got to feel it out. Yes, you might get, taken for a ride every now and again, but I just backed myself into find more deals than I would lose. So I guess I had that approach of, non-disclosure agreement is probably the only real mechanism you can. I mean, hopefully you've got, that's if you don't have the site under contract. Sometimes you can, like I said, get it under a due diligence clause, and then we've swapped it out in Victoria. You can have as a nominee clause and bits and pieces, but talk to your solicitors and stuff on how to do that. But non-disclosure is how we've done about 3 of the smaller deals where we haven't actually had them under contract and tried to pass them on. They all have.
As I'm reading a lot of these questions, there's a lot of fear-based questions, right? There's a lot of how do you reduce the risk and risk this, and there's another good question here. But I want, Kevin said earlier, right? Mindset
is everything.
Everything, right? There's risk in everything you do, right? Think of the corporate job, right? All of a sudden you're on that corporate ladder, and there's risk in that, even though that's what you're taught to do. Get that university degree, get that corporate job, and then you have a boss. All it takes is that boss to change, and a new boss comes in that doesn't get along with you too well, and guess what? All of a sudden, there's risk. There's a risk in everything we do. So, guys, I really want you to think about the mindset that you need to create wealth in anything you do, because I'm reading these questions, and it's a lot of
fear-based.
A lot of fear-based questions, right? And
I'd add to that and say a lot of the fear-based comes from just the unknown as well. Like when we're looking at our projects and we're structuring them in such a way, we have multiple exit strategies on the way out. So we'll aim for a DA approval, and then what's it worth at that point? We'll aim for a DA approval, OPW or CC, and then what's it worth at that point as an exit strategy, or do we construct it? And the fear tends to leave once you have these strategies in place and you understand what the multiple exits look like at different levels.
I'm actually doing a session on fear-based, which is a session I've done.
Yep.
Because the top 10% of 6,500 real estate agents we had under the brand at the time, only 10% were writing 90% of the business, but burning out every 2 years. So we had to figure out how we could stop the burn, and it was all about confidence, knowing what you're doing, and just keep doing it. It's not that hard, and I can only say what I said before. You're going to be surrounded by people that are the top class people of unemployable that are there, and don't be shy. You can walk up to any of us during that event and say your name and say what it is. Just focus on the question though, because we can only answer a question you ask the way you ask it. So I might say to you, ask a better question and let me reframe that question for you, and you'll get a better answer. Because when you walk into these consultants, if you haven't learnt the language, you can get into trouble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Kev. All right, guys, we have one more giveaway for the hat. This is the last hat giveaway of the night before we do our 2 tickets. All right, Liam, roll it. Glenn Bailey, you are the winner of the hat. Glenn Bailey, thanks for coming, Glenn. All right, guys, now I want to change gears a little bit. There's been a lot of questions. We've answered a lot of questions and some great questions. But guys, next time we do this, I want more questions from more people, right? We've had over 200 people on this live stream for a long time now. And, there's a handful of people asking all the questions, right? So don't be scared asking questions in the future. But I want to talk, straight down the barrel now, right? No slides, no hype. I just real talk. Done a lot of work on this. I've been hearing a lot of these same things over and over again. Everything's too expensive. Money doesn't go as far as it used to. Even with a good income, there's nothing left at the end of the month. I don't know how I'll get ahead. How many times have you heard, I don't think my kids are ever going to be able to buy a property. But here's the scary part. These aren't complaints from people doing it tough, right? There's people really doing it tough out there. These are comments coming from hardworking, smart people, responsible people, just like you who are listening on this call. And if you feel that, you're not broken, right? It's not you. What you need to realize is the system has changed. The system of money has changed. Now, I want to talk about the real culprit here. Inflation. We all hear this word, inflation. It's the cruelest tax, in my opinion, of them all, because it doesn't show up on a bill, right? It doesn't ask permission. It quietly eats away at your purchasing power year after year after year. And I'm going to give you some examples. In 1990, a can of Coke was roughly about 80 cents. Today, it's about $3.80, give or take. So that's a compound annual growth rate of about 4.6% a year. Every year, that Coke goes up. Milk, 80 cents. Now it's about $2.80 to $3, give or take. That's another 4.2 to 4.5% a year, every year. Meat is increased by 4.5% a year. Fuel, 4% a year. Electricity is close to 4.7% a year, and it's just increasing and increasing. So here's the real question. Are prices going up, or is our money actually going backwards? I want to flip the lens on this. At an average inflation rate of about 4.5% a year, something brutal happens which we don't see. This is the silent killers. $100 in 1990 today has the buying power of about $26. Think about that. $100 in 1990 has a buying power today of $26. That's not bad luck. It's basic math, and that is what's happening. This is why it feels like you earn more, but you live worse, right? You work harder, but you actually fall behind. You pay more, and you get less. A good job isn't good anymore. I remember back in the day, you're on 100 grand, it'd be like, that's big money,
Killing it.
right? A good business isn't even enough anymore, in my opinion. If your money isn't growing faster than inflation, you're going backwards, whether you realize it or not. This is where the conversation has to change, guys. Money behaves very differently depending on where you put it. And I'm seeing people put it in a lot of stupid places. Cash gets weaker, wages are struggling to keep up. You can see it in the news, you hear it at the barbecues. Savings, quietly, are dying. That's the reality. But hard assets, especially real estate, play a different game. And that's the game that we're in. And that's why we're in that game, because we have an understanding about it. And a lot of people have no idea. And here's the part that most people miss. It's not just owning property, it's creating value through property. It's manufacturing growth through property, like earning $540,000 in 3 months, like earning $45,000 as a finder's fee and you didn't put any money. That we're not talking just like Carson did and bought a unit and waited 8 years to try and get his money back, right? That's not real property investing. Real estate investment has changed my life. For those of you guys that follow me, you will know that. It's changed Carson's life. Carson used to clean carpets for a business that I used to own, and I didn't even know who he was. And all I think is Carson waking up every day knowing that the next day you're going to go and clean the puke and the rubbish and on the carpets that people are dirtying on a daily basis. It's changed Shannon's life. It's changed Kevin's life. But not overnight, right? Not without work, but it's changed us permanently. I know some of you watching tonight are already on this path. You know, Paul's asked a lot of questions in this chat. I know who Paul is, right? And I know real estate development has changed his life as well. But I know the majority of people here are still looking for different options. And that's exactly why we've created Unemployable Property. And that's exactly why we've created the Find Fund Development event that we have coming up. It's a 2-day event, and we're in the trenches, and we're breaking down how deals are actually found, how everyday people can get into these deals. You don't have to be rich. How small developments are structured. How to move from thinking to actually doing. This isn't about building towers and being Harry Triggerboff and Meriton, right? It's about repeatable, realistic projects that normal people like myself and Carson and Shannon, right, can actually execute. Normal people like you. If tonight has opened your eyes, right, this is the event where then everything clicks. But I want to be very, very clear. This isn't for everyone. I know that for sure. It's not for the people looking for guarantees. It's not the people that are looking for zero risk, okay? There's no shortcuts, right? Someone else isn't going to do the work for you. Someone else isn't going to be answering the questions that you wanted to put in the comments that you didn't. But if you're sitting there thinking, I need a better strategy, which I know a lot of you guys are sitting there going, something's got to give here. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. I want to learn this properly. Then this is your moment, in my opinion. March 7th and 8th, we're in the room at the luxurious Mondrian Hotel. We didn't do it in the back of the Novotel, okay? We're at the Mondrian Hotel, the best hotel right now on the Gold Coast. Michael Matusik will be speaking. For those of you guys that have been living under a rock and don't know who Michael is, he's one of the top housing experts in the country. He's been analyzing the Australian property market now for over 30 years, and he'll be revealing the most relevant property insights to date. You will hear from everyday people doing deals right now that are in our community, that are changing their lives, that were in the exact same position you were in on the other side, right, of this video. You will hear from a 15-year-old that found a land subdivision that is set to profit over $13 million. And guess what? It wasn't off market. He found it online, and anybody else could have found that too if they know what they're looking for. Inflation doesn't wait. Property cycles don't wait, and neither does time. So here's my ask tonight. If tonight added value, if this conversation resonates with you, I'm speaking to you directly right now. If you're done hoping things, get easier, then you need to take action. Grab your ticket. You will not regret it. Find, fund, develop. Come and learn the skills that actually change outcomes. Because doing nothing is still a decision, and it's usually the most expensive one. If Shannon didn't go to that barbecue, his life would be a lot different right now, and I would be business partners with Carson. But honestly, we would love to see you in the room. We'd love you to come out and hang out with us. And you know what? I'm just going to do this. I haven't even chatted with the boys about this. But anyone who purchases a ticket up until Monday, right? It's Thursday night, up until Monday, we're going to give you a bonus. We're going to give you the full recordings of the event. We usually don't do this. We don't give recordings away, but we'll give the full recordings to the event so you can have them forever and you can review them. And it's a full 2-day event with expert speakers. And also, this is something I'm going to throw in the mix because I think this is amazing value, right? Anyone that purchases a ticket to the event, again, up until Monday, this offer's gone from Monday. This event will be sold out, March 7th and 8th. You can sit live on a podcast recording in our professional studio here in Southport on the Gold Coast, and you can watch a live podcast when we're interviewing somebody, and you can grab and come and hang out after the pod and have a coffee with us, and you can actually see how we do things in behind the scenes rather than seeing it from your computer screen. Be here live, come and hang out. This is only available for you, no one else, if you purchase up until Monday. There's no specific time, just Monday at the moment. If you're keen, on the bottom right hand side of your screen, there's a QR code. There's the link. Take that, www.unemployableproperty.com/event, and let me tell you, you will not regret it. If you come to the event and you actually think it's rubbish, I will personally give you the $6.95 back. That's how serious I am about this. I'm sick of people sitting on the sidelines and complaining, right? You need to be in the game. But again, it's not for everyone, and you need to decide if that's you. Guys, let's do the tickets. All right, so we're going to give away 2 free tickets, guys, to the event. March 7th, March 8th, Mondrian Hotel, Burleigh Heads. 2 full days of education, fully catered, not hot dogs. Better food than that. But if you want hot dogs, we'll give it to you as well. And at 6 p.m. on Saturday night, we have a networking event after the Saturday event up on the pool deck at the Mondrian, hanging out with cabanas. We got canapes. There's going to be some drinks, and we're just going to hang out. It's going to be unbelievable. And for 2 lucky people, right, they're going to get 2 free tickets. And if you do get a free ticket, guys, make sure you bring a friend. That's what you could do for us. Bring a friend and change their life as well, because I'm telling you, you won't regret it. All right, let's roll the first one. Let's go. $695 ticket up for grabs right now. Who do we got? Who do we got? Paul Barisic. You know what, man? I'm telling you, energy, it's actually real. Paul is in the comments, smashing it in the comments. And that's the guy I was just talking about. It probably sounds rigged, but it's not. Let me tell you, that's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just like the $362 vet bill when I actually said $362.
Let's go.
Congratulations, Paul. Well done, mate. I know you've been putting in a lot of work. Yeah, just you deserve that one. All right, next one. Let's go. Last one. $695 ticket. Here we go. Ryan Hook. Ryan Hook. Brother of Captain Hook. that joke. Well done. Now, Ryan or Paul, for whatever reason, if you guys can't come to the event because you live interstate and you're making up excuses, or you have, other things in your schedule already that you can't move, give that ticket to somebody. Do yourself a favor and think about, if you can't come to that event, who do you think can come to that event, right? That will find it valuable and it can change their life like it's changed ours and yours, Paul. Guys, that's us. Our second Ask Us Anything. I mean, that was pretty fun. Kevin's first one with us.
That's my first.
Shannon, Carson, and I's second one.
Pop my cherry.
Now, tell me something, guys. In the comments right now, I have my comments open. Let me just open them up. Who wants more of these? Right, put in the comments right now. Who would like more Ask Anythings? Right, the link will be in the chat, in the comments as well. The link is on the screen, bottom right-hand corner. The QR code is there. www.unemployableproperty.com.au/event. Get your tickets, guys. Link as well in the comments. Who
Will your father-in-law be providing comedy?
Yeah, my father-in-law unfortunately leaves back to Canada. For those of you guys that follow me on Instagram, I was going to get him to be the MC, but we already committed to Kevin.
Close second.
All right, there's a lot of people that like these guys. But guys, again, don't just come on the Ask Anythings and ask questions and do nothing about it, right? Don't waste your time. Take action. Whatever you do, do something different. Do something that in my opinion, those butterflies that you get in your stomach, should I, shouldn't I, that's when you know you should do it, right? Believe me, every deal I do, I get anxiety still. No matter how good the deal is, when you sign the dotted line, right, there's a level of hope, and that's what we live by, right? There's a level of hope, and doesn't matter how good your feasibility is, doesn't matter how good your contingencies are, and your plan A's and plan B's and plan C's, we do not know what will happen tomorrow. But I will tell you what will happen tomorrow, that is for sure. Coke is going up, milk is going up, fuel is going up, childcare is going up, and we will continue our podcast. Guys, thank you so much for tonight. It's been amazing. We love all the support, the DMs that we get, the messages from the podcast. We will continue to provide value. And we hope to see you guys at the event March 7th and 8th, Burleigh Heads, Queensland, Mondrian Hotel. Let's go. Thank you. Thanks, guys,
Cheers.
for coming.
Cheers there.